Hello and welcome back. If you've never stopped by here before, hello, welcome. My name's Kara and I use this channel to document a year-long low-buy project. It is almost finished, which is why the titles in the December videos are becoming 2020 wrapping it up. So yeah, I've been doing this year-long low-buy project and it was designed to help me keep a tight budget, and that was to help me pay off student loans as much as possible, as fast as possible. And this month I will be, especially at the end of the month, I'll be doing a full year wrap up, all of my budgeting and debt payoff statistics. I'm pretty pleased. I didn't make all of my goals, but I made enough of them to be pretty excited about what I can accomplish, continuing to move forward and get close to done. So today what I did was actually I looked at, I've got 4 videos left to make this year, and if I wanted to do a wrap up, what exactly am I wrapping up? And so I looked at the year of videos and, my 58 subscribers, thank you. And I looked at what has been the most popular. And by far, by an order of magnitude, if that is technically the way to use that phrase, the most popular thing that I've talked about this year, which isn't even the purpose of the channel, but I think just due to the popularity of it, and the curiosity around it, my most watched videos are those that referenced my way of eating. So I'm going to do a wrap up about the carnivore diet. I shared, I think, 3 or 4 videos throughout the year, some about my personal experience, some about how I get locally raised groceries, and then others a little bit about like what I've learned about nutrition and metabolic health and why I would eat the way that I eat, and also the environmental impact, the environmentally good impact of eating meat, and learning about how the entire agriculture system works, which also has a nice amount of overlap with my new current work in the natural foods grocery store industry. I do work at an independent local natural food store here in Sandpoint, Idaho, and I really love it. My responsibilities there are actually, though, less oriented towards local foods and more, my work is to work with major nationwide distributors and keep the middle of the floor, the grocery section, full. And it's interesting to have that role at a store because I don't eat anything. I don't eat anything that I buy for the store. My job keeping those shelves full is entirely irrelevant to my own way of eating. So it's an interesting thing to straddle the world that I work in and what I know about and why I choose to eat the way I eat. So you can go back and watch those videos, but I thought I would do a wrap up. It is December, so I've been eating a carnivore diet for 2.5 years, basically. I think January is the official 2.5 year since I started in July of 2018. In that time, I have felt the best I've ever felt in my life. I have just, and I this is in previous videos as well, so you can go back and see, like, I think I did a 2-year carnivore thing in July, precisely to celebrate milestones. I was always very healthy before, and I think this is true for people in general who would consider themselves healthy and just feel pretty good most of the time. Maybe even they specifically try to eat a healthy diet and they work out, and by all of this conventional wisdom and advice that they would get from a doctor, they are following a healthy way of life. And of course they are probably quite healthy, especially compared to the like 8 out of 10, or maybe it's even 9 out of 10 Americans who are absolutely metabolically unhealthy. But even in that group of people, that 1 or 2 in 10 who seem pretty healthy, I would have considered myself in that group, and I had been learning about nutrition and caring about it for a long time. And then when I went carnivore, I had such an increase in good results. It was noticeable, and I want everybody to feel as good as they possibly can, and that's why I remain enthusiastic about this way of eating, because I went from good to great, and there are lots of people in carnivore communities. I've been a part of a few different Facebook groups, and I recently joined sapien.org. And I had to pay for that. So, I'm on a budget, and that's important to me. Like, this is how valuable I find this. I paid to join a community of people that care about their health in this way. So, I've been part of and listening to a lot of conversations around health, and there are a lot of people that heal themselves of a variety of autoimmune problems, type 2 diabetes, even like a lot of type 1 diabetics find that eating a meat diet is better for controlling their blood sugar than constantly working with insulin. If that's interesting to you, I recommend you look up Dr. Stephen Hussey, and it's Stephen with PH. Yeah, I just learned about him, and he's a type 1 diabetic and controls his metabolic needs now by eating an animal-based diet. So I continue to learn more about how great for human health, and depending on how the animals are raised, also how great for the planet's health an animal-based way of eating really is. I don't know much about what to wrap up. I've spoken so much, it feels, already. I guess a couple of things that I'm excited about in the carnivore community is Diana Rogers, who is both a nutritionist and a rancher. She and a group of people that include like Rob Wolf from the Paleo Solution, she and a variety of people have worked together to create a documentary called Sacred Cow, and it's going to be released for the general public. I'm not sure what like streaming services or what kind of release it will get, but that documentary, I've just watched a pre-screening of it. It's called Sacred Cow. I highly recommend you view it if you are a little worried about an animal-based diet because of the environment. It covers a lot about agriculture and the importance of animals in our agricultural system, and that has been that importance of animals in the ag system has been getting pushed aside over the years because of advances in chemistry. If you can fertilize farms with chemicals, you get the appearance of soil fertility, and you get a chemical company that gets to make a lot of money. The only problem is that those chemicals are based on usually petroleum and lots of other like concentrates of concentrates of plant defense chemicals. Glyphosate is a naturally occurring substance in plants, but when it's concentrated and used as a pesticide, it has a very different result overall. So if you are interested in animal-based eating and worry about environmental impacts, I think Sacred Cow is a great documentary and a place to get started learning about that. I would also highly recommend looking at the Savory Institute. I'm on a tight budget, but I give money every month to the Savory Institute. That's how important this is to me. Even in the midst of my own financial mess, I find it valuable enough to give money in these directions. What else have I been up to? So I watched that pre-screening, and I also know of another food documentary coming up that I'm very excited about, and it's been in the works for a long time. The creator of the sapien.org community that I just joined, his name is Brian Sanders, and he has the social media handle Food Lies, as in dishonesty, Food Lies. And that's the name of the documentary that he's been working on for several years, and it should be released this year, or I guess 2021. But he looks deeply at human nutrition and the travesty of nutrition science in the United States, and how a lot of conflicts of interest have made nutrition information so hard to get in the United States that is accurate. And because we see the headlines all the time. This study says coffee's great, and this study says coffee will kill you, and this study says, and there's always conflicting messages in our media. And why does that happen? Well, it happens because of the way the science is getting skewed and funded. And I mean, these are such cynical times. Like, we should all know to expect this at this point, unfortunately. So he's got a documentary coming that shows how the science got led astray, which then led policy astray. And that comes down to things like dietary guideline policies and the government saying what's best for people to eat. And how did they know that? And why did they give the guidelines they gave? And where they might have been led astray. Policy like that. And it also includes policy about then what food should be grown and produced and what agriculture should get subsidized, and all of the ways that that skews the incentives throughout our food and health environment. We're in a real mess. We're in a real mess. And I think that looking into this is very worth your while, even if you are experiencing good health at this moment. If you want to continue to experience good health, or even better, if you care about the future of both your own body as you get older, your ability to have children if that's what you want, and the health of your children. What will you feed them? How will you raise them? And then, of course, when it gets into agricultural policy, we have real decisions to make that affect the health and life of our whole planet and the future of everything. Soil fertility has to come from somewhere. And if you want to be plant-based, you have to answer that question. If you want to eat a plant-based diet, you have to answer the question, where will the soil fertility come from to raise those plants so that you can eat them? Because you have two options. You can enhance the soil fertility through the use of animal products from living animals. You can, and the animals' byproducts when they've been humanely slaughtered. You can use manure, and you can have bone meal and blood meal. Products that come from animals are going to enhance the soil necessarily. Nothing else can do that sustainably, because the other option is that your soil fertility can come from petrochemicals, which are finite in supply, cause a great deal of pollution to extract and create those chemicals, as well as a great deal of pollution in their use. And ultimately, they are also old, dead animals. And so you have to answer the question, if you want to go plant-based, where will the soil fertility come from? That's like the ultimate question. So as you can tell, I care about this quite a bit. And by eating an animal-based diet and focusing on locally raised animals, which was a great experiment for 2020, I've eaten only local food all year long, except for a short window of time at the beginning of the pandemic, because it really suddenly radically changed the market for a moment. And I needed to have something to eat for a couple of weeks while I waited for local meat to be available for me again. It was interesting because the price of meat went up and everybody ran to the local meat producers, and I didn't realize that I needed to get in line. So yeah, other than that couple of weeks period, I have eaten all locally raised food this year, and I love that I got to do that, and it has continued to give me the best health, mentally, physically, everything that I've ever experienced. Yeah. Let's see, what else could there be to wrap up? Oh, the whole reason that I wanted to even share about my way of eating one more time was that a couple of weeks ago, I went to my doctor and had a fasted blood draw, because this morning I would have an appointment to do kind of an annual checkup and talk about those results and have the doctor interpret anything for me that I didn't understand. And I'm in perfect health. My doctor loves me, and not this visit, but I think it was one of the first visits we ever had when I first moved to town here and got onto my new jobs insurance program and had to kind of go meet my doctor and do everything to get started. On that occasion, I think it was the first time that we sat down to talk about blood work. She came in the exam room with jazz hands. So I know that while my doctor doesn't necessarily understand the way that I eat and why completely, because I'm in such good health and there are test results to show it, I have her support. And that's pretty fun. I did have one interesting result though. So the blood draw was like 2 weeks ago, maybe a week. But for a little over a month, I have been taking a supplement. And this is interesting because I got a little psyched out. The entire time I've been carnivore, and actually for most of my life, I've never been on any medications and I have not taken supplements. I mean, occasionally from time to time, I would take a vitamin if somebody just like had them around, and I'd be like, oh, sure, you're taking a vitamin. Can I take one? Housemates and things like that. Never really gotten into supplements. And this is a big deal in the carnivore community. There are lots of people saying that you really need them. I haven't found that to be the case, but I did get psyched out because I started thinking a lot about how up here in northern Idaho, within 1 hour of where I live, that was the standard for what I consider locally produced food. Within an hour of where I live, there are mining operations and historic mining operations that have since closed. There's been plenty of agriculture and chemical use. Not everything around here is organic. And I just kind of got psyched out that if the soil around me isn't totally healthy with everything it has and needs, then the animal-based foods that I'm eating from animals that have fed on the plants growing in that soil, I just got psyched out. Like, what if there's a mineral that I'm not going to get? So I bought a bottle of trace minerals. They're like drops that you put in your water so that you get a few more things. And I just did that every evening. I would have a glass of water with the recommended number of drops in it, and it tastes terrible. And I just was having a glass of that every evening. Well, in my blood draw results, my doctor noticed that I have an elevated liver enzyme. And she was like, so, are you doing anything different? And she pointed out a bunch of course, freaky things that could contribute to this, that most of them it was easy to rule out. Like, there's certain liver problems if you're pregnant. Well, I'm certainly not pregnant. So we kind of drew it down, and I was like, well, I forgot to say, because it's so unusual for me, but I have been taking this mineral supplement for a month or so. And I'm excited about this because I like experimenting. So here's the thing. My doctor recommended, what if I quit taking that supplement and we're going to do a new blood draw in a little over a month. It's like 5 weeks away, January 11th. Going to do a blood draw and see what happens to my liver enzyme without having any of that supplement. Because since I might not really need it, my liver enzyme could be elevated because it's trying to clear out all this excess of minerals. So I'm not going to be surprised if that's exactly the case, because it was the only thing weird in my blood work, and it's the only change that I've made. So I'm kind of thinking about quitting YouTube for 2021, but I promise I will at least give an update about that. So if you care about these things, if you've been following anything that I say about the way that I eat, I don't want to just leave and have there be this cliffhanger where we could actually know an answer. So because we will actually know an answer in January, I will share about that, regardless of what I ultimately decide to do about continuing on YouTube or what. I'm thinking I might do something like once a month. Just little updates, but yeah. Yeah. I think that kind of wraps it up. I mean, if you want to know more about the carnivore diet, there are so many people doing channels about it, and doctors and different nutrition experts who've weighed in on it. You have more than enough resource at your fingertips if you are watching YouTube. Yeah, you're a grown-up with an internet browser. Like, you can go find out what you want to find out. And I'm not the greatest at expressing everything about it. Only that I've had an excellent experience. I plan to continue, and I will give an update in January when I have another blood draw, and we'll see if I was getting a little too much of a good thing. And I don't actually need any mineral supplements at this time. It's definitely my suspicion. So yeah. That's the wrap up. Yeah. I hope you're having a good week, and I will talk to you again next Thursday. Next Thursday, I think I'm going to be talking about what other most popular topics I've had on my channel, and I think it'll be some stuff about personal stories that I've shared, and also the check-in I did mid-year on my low buy. I'll get to kind of revisit that check-in and move towards the end of the channel is clearly going to be like a financial statistics wrap up, and also what the future, my goals, and also what I'll be doing with this channel will be. So anyway, we're wrapping things up, and I am grateful for your time. Thanks a lot. See ya.